Okay, I just wanted to recap this unit because we're getting to a point now where we need to think quite seriously about what we're going to make and when we're going to make it and how we're going to make it. So the project, the sense of place, is made of three or four units, can't remember, but certainly one of them is environment, and that is the main project. Is the landscape pictures that you're going to make. The way you make it, the methodology you use, the techniques you use are going to be borrowed from the alternative processes and also the darkroom techniques. So this is from the SQA descriptor, talking about what it is we actually need to make and about the third outcome, which is evaluation. So the excuse me, the SQA says produce a minimum of 4 images of the environment. I put that in speech marks myself because the environment can be anything, but I think the SQA are specifically talking about landscape here, and then landscape can also be more or less anything. But environment is the word that they've used, and I think they've used it because it's quite evocative of maybe a polemic or environmental issues, that sort of thing. So it needs to be from a minimum of 4 different locations. The images can be rural, urban, daylight, or night shots. Interpret how you wish, but be prepared to justify your decision. Explore techniques, organize location work, gain permissions where appropriate, and utilize equipment and or lighting to realize the intended outcome. So we're going to need to see all of that stuff in a plan, and you're going to be working towards a plan today. So you need to be thinking about what equipment you're going to be using. You don't have to be too specific because you haven't all tried all of the medium format equipment yet, so you don't know which you prefer. But you can put in medium format film camera. You need to be thinking about anywhere where you're going to have to obtain permission. So if you're going onto private land, and then you're going to have to write into your plan how you're going to get that permission, who you're going to contact, that sort of thing. Think about health and safety. So if you're going to do a little risk assessment, if you're going to be working on a cliff edge, then talk about the risk of falling over the edge of the cliff and how you're going to reduce that risk by not going too close to the edge and maybe having somebody else with you, that sort of thing. And then when you write your evaluation, you're going to need to refer back to that plan, how things went to plan, how things didn't go to plan, how you had to change things. So the images should be made at 4 different locations, but I want you to tie them together. So you might tie them together through a polemic about environmental issues, for instance. You might tie them together through geography, or through just being a celebration of beauty, or a technique. So something on getting movement within a still image, how that works. The following criteria should be observed. Exposure should be correct for the desired effect. Okay, so there's no right and wrong exposure. If you're working at night and you want to make night pictures, and you want them to look like they're night pictures, then you're going to have low shadow detail. That doesn't mean it's underexposed. It means it's correct for the desired effect. Images should be technically and aesthetically consistent with the assignment. So technically, we've already talked about exposure, but we're also considering things like focus, depth of field, and then composition is going to give us our aesthetic. So we also want the right tone. We want the right blacks, the right whites. It must be consistent. So it needs to look right. Composition and viewpoint must be selected to achieve the desired effect. We've kind of already said that. Obviously, it's kind of it's obvious to us, but obvious to you. But when we look through and we assess this work, we'll be looking for how you compose a picture. Selected lighting must achieve the desired effect. Sometimes you think that maybe these descriptors are written in a general sense and just borrowed onto. So you're not really selecting lighting for landscape photography. You're not really going to go out and light the landscape, although you might. I think it's unlikely. But you're selecting when you go out. So you're choosing time of day, you're choosing weather, and you're choosing direction. So think about when you go out, where you go out, and what the lighting will be on that occasion, and does that work for what you're trying to achieve? And then outcome 3 is the evaluation. So I've added and rationale because I think it's important that you rationalize the work that you've made. So present and evaluate finished images of the environment. Prepare a rationale, this is me, as to how you interpreted the brief and how the aesthetic and technical decisions you made answer your concept. So a simple evaluation, but we do want a rationale. So we also want you to go over what went right, what went wrong, what you had to do to make things work. Originally, we said choose a medium, oral or written, but because we're working pretty much online, I want you to write this, and we're looking for 500 words minimum for your evaluation. I'm just going to go through some students' work that has been done previously. Now, this work, this was in the first year that I delivered this unit, which was 2018-19. So these are the HNC students from then. And at that time, I didn't tie it in with the darkroom processes. So although some students did do black and white work, most worked on digital and handed in digital prints, or prints from digital files, I should say. This is one student, don't ask me the names because I can't remember all the names, but this is one student's work. So this is 4 pieces of landscape work. It's all quite expected. It's the sort of thing that we often see from landscape photographers, but it's effective. It's also quite saleable sort of work. So maybe she had in mind that she might sort of be able to sell work in the future working in this way. But it tied in, it was tenuously tied in her evaluation, where she talked about mood and metaphor and feeling. Not sure what that picture is. That's kind of in there, but it doesn't really fit with any other group, so I don't know why I've got that one in, but it's a landscape. This student made a polemic on access rights. So she's photographed barbed wire, signage, more barbed wire, but I like I like the mistiness in the background of that picture. That's quite a special picture to me. I get a good feeling from it. It reminds me of a Raymond Moore. Just not sure about the overhanging branches in the sides, but you know, the mistiness is quite effective. And some more signage. And then this was a little bit more spiritual, and she's thinking about water in this case, although you can't see water in the picture, and reflection. But I quite like the way the pictures look. And they tied in as a set, and she tied it in with her evaluation. Okay.